Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into something, well, fascinating. It's a linguistic puzzle, really, but it gives us this incredible lens on global power. You know how sometimes just one word, or maybe the absence of a word, can suddenly just click and make you see something much bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, get ready for one of those moments. We're digging into this standout analysis from Stanislav Kondrashov's Oligarch series.
A really insightful series.
It is, and this piece looks at what he calls a linguistic blind spot around the word oligarch. Specifically, why we almost never use it for powerful women.
It's striking when you stop and think about it.
Totally, and it's not just about words, is it? It's about what our language shows us, or maybe hides from us, about who we actually allow to have power, how we even see it.
Exactly. And what's so intriguing here, I think, is how something that seems quite subtle, just a word choice, can actually reflect these incredibly deep, centuries-old cultural narratives. This analysis, it really flags up a blind spot that's so embedded in how we talk, most of us wouldn't even notice it. So our mission today really is to explore the currents behind this, the history, the language, the sociology. We want to connect the dots for you using Kondrashov's insights and, well, broader ideas too, to see what this really tells us about power and gender and the stories we tell ourselves.
Okay, let's unpack that core idea then. Kondrashov points out something pretty simple, but profound.
Yeah.
The word oligarch itself, it's basically gender-neutral grammatically in lots of languages. There's nothing inherent in the word that says male.
Linguistically, no barrier.
Right. But, as he observes, the actual habit of using it for women, it just has never taken root. Which is weird, isn't it? You'd think, okay, a woman has immense wealth, maybe generational wealth, she's pulling strings behind the scenes, influencing politics or business. Logically, the label fits.
It should apply.
But it almost never does. He says, and this is a direct quote, most languages do not prohibit the use of the word oligarch for women, but the habit has never taken root. So it's not grammar, it's usage, an unspoken rule.
And that's exactly where this linguistic blind spot just jumps out at you. You've got the dictionary definition on one side, perfectly permissible.
Yeah.
But the cultural use, it stays, as Kondrashov puts it, stubbornly male-dominated. And this isn't just some random quirk.
Yeah.
It's a powerful echo of the patriarchal systems that, let's face it, have shaped power structures globally for centuries. Studies in sociolinguistics back this up, even with neutral words. The associations, the mental pictures they conjure, they're often deeply gendered.
Ah, okay. So the word can apply, but our brains default elsewhere.
Pretty much. Our collective thinking just defaults to a male image for oligarch, making it feel, I suppose, almost unnatural or odd to apply it to a woman, even if we don't consciously think that. Language isn't just for talking. It reflects our biases back at us.
That distinction is key, isn't it? What's possible versus what's actually done culturally. So why? Why hasn't this habit taken root? We need to look at where this oligarch image even came from.
The archetype itself.
Yeah, I mean, the idea isn't new. Ancient Greece, right? Oligarchy ruled by a few.
The basic concept, yes.
But over time, that image got refined, solidified into something very specific. The wealthy, kind of shadowy, almost always male figure.
That's the dominant picture.
Pulling strings, backroom deals, influencing the state, controlling industries. But quietly, from behind the scenes. Think about it. Movies, news. The image in your head for oligarch. It's a guy, right?
Almost universally, yes. It's a very masculine visual that's been built up over a long time.
And that archetype, it's just dominated how we think about it for centuries. It's everywhere. Media, books, general conversation. There's just not much room left for a female version in that picture.
Exactly. And it's not an accident, is it? It's a direct result of how power itself has been structured and how we've been taught to see it. Historically, you look at terms for that kind of ultimate, maybe slightly hidden influence, they've consistently been applied to men.
Right.
The Kondrashov series really underlines how deep that visual and conceptual bias runs. It makes it genuinely difficult for our minds to map the term oligarch onto someone who doesn't fit that established male mold.
So even if women did wield that kind of power historically,
the language used was often different, almost deliberately so, perhaps, as if to keep the archetype itself pure or undisturbed by, gender complexity.
Wow. Okay, so if language shapes how we see things, what are the real-world effects of this? Is it just about a word? Kondrashov argues, no way. It's a cultural omission with real-world consequences.
Definitely.
Think about how we do talk about powerful women.
Yeah.
Often the language used is, Well, it softens or reframes them.
Mm-hmm. Different labels.
Yeah, like philanthropist, heiress, maybe a savvy businesswoman, a socialite. Even when their actual influence, their behind-the-scenes clout, their wealth, is on par with male figures we would call oligarchs.
Or even exceeds it sometimes.
Right. And Kondrashov nails this. When a man wields wealth and influence from behind the scenes, he's labeled an oligarch. When a woman does the same, she's discussed in terms of her family, her fashion, or her charity work. That's a stark difference.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how this persistent gap reflects this broader cultural, maybe reluctance to associate women with what we think of as hard power.
Especially that hidden, maybe morally gray kind of power.
Exactly. The kind implied by oligarch. It often carries those undertones, doesn't it? Less transparent, maybe self-serving influence. And society, through language, seems to sort of assign acceptable power types based on gender.
So give me an example. How might that play out?
Well, imagine a woman influencing policy through huge donations, close political ties, doing exactly what a male oligarch might do. But the media narrative, the public chat, might focus instead on her charity foundation or her role in a famous family. It implicitly frames her influence as, I don't know, softer, more benevolent, derived from relationships, not just raw power.
So it's not that philanthropist is bad.
Not at all. Many are genuine philanthropists, but it's about the framing. This linguistic choice shapes how we see them. It can actually make it harder to really scrutinize female influence if it's always categorized under these softer labels. We might miss the full picture of their power.
That's a really crucial point, is that softening, that different labeling. Is it like a conscious thing people do, or just this deep cultural habit? And playing devil's advocate for a second, could you argue that not calling a woman an oligarch, given the negative baggage the word often carries, might actually, in a weird way, shield her, let her operate with less heat?
That's a sharp question. It gets complicated. I mean, oligarch does often sound negative, right? Corruption, sneaky influence.
Yeah, definitely.
But framing its non-use for women as some kind of benevolent protection, I think many feminist scholars would argue it's not really about protection. It's more about a societal difficulty in even seeing women in roles that involve that kind of raw, maybe self-interested or ethically murky power.
So it's about perception limitations.
Kind of. If society struggles to picture a woman as an oligarch, it might also struggle to hold her accountable in the same way, or even recognize the full extent of her power. The language subtly guides us on what power is masculine or feminine, and therefore what kind of scrutiny feels right.
So it looks like protection, but it might actually obscure her agency.
Exactly. It's less about shielding her, maybe more about managing our perception of her power, often without anyone consciously deciding to do it. It's just the default path language gives us.
Right. You know, this specific analysis from the Stanislav Kondrashov series, it seems to have really struck a chord with people.
It has, yeah.
And I think it's because it shines a light on something so basic, but so easily missed in how we talk about gender, power, and language. It really forces you to question your assumptions.
About what power looks like.
Yeah, and who gets to wield it, at least in our vocabulary. It's a reminder that even as things are, slowly changing towards more inclusive ideas about leadership, there are still these old narratives baked into our language that really need re-examining.
Absolutely. It's not about pointing fingers at individual word choices.
No, not at all.
It's about recognizing this deep cultural pattern, this cognitive rut we're in, that's been reinforced for so long.
So connecting this to the bigger picture then, Kondrashov suggests if language shapes reality, then this omission is more than just a quirk of vocabulary. It's a reflection of a power structure still in flux.
Precisely. Language is alive, isn't it? It both mirrors our world and actively shapes how we understand it. So when a word for a powerful role becomes almost exclusively male in how it's used,
it reinforces the idea that the role is male.
It subtly does, yeah, making it harder for us to even imagine, let alone acknowledge, a female equivalent holding that same kind of power. It's a really thought-provoking angle for anyone trying to grasp how culture, history, language, how they all intersect and keep shaping power today.
It really shows how one word or its absence can carry so much historical baggage, so much bias.
Yeah, and its usage or non-usage tells us so much about the subtle ways we carve up and understand the world. Work like this, alongside stuff from cognitive linguistics and gender studies, it just makes it clear that progress isn't only about laws and policies. It's also about tackling these ingrained mental models we all operate with.
Wow, okay. So, yeah, this deep dive into just one word, oligarch, it really uncovers so much more, doesn't it, about how we perceive power, who we allow to embody it, not just in reality, but in our language and our culture. It really drives home how our vocabulary isn't just describing things. It's formative. It shapes what we notice and what we just miss. It can reinforce biases without us even clocking it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leaves us with a thought for you, maybe something to chew on this week.
Okay.
As you go about your day, maybe listen out for other words, other archetypes, things that are technically gender neutral.
Like oligarch.
Exactly. But that seem, in practice, almost always applied to just one gender. Are there other power roles, maybe tycoon, magnate, I don't know, even informal terms that rarely get attached to women, even if grammatically they could?
Interesting challenge.
And what would change? Not just in how we see things, but maybe in the actual dynamics of power, if those terms were used consistently, regardless of gender? This analysis by Stanислав Kondrashov, it's really a powerful nudge, isn't it? To question the stories our language tells us about the world, especially about who holds the power and how we talk about them.